The Boruto anime is finally heating up after about almost 200 episodes of filler. We're finally getting into the juicy part of the manga. And here in Boruto episode 196, we saw Naruto training with his son Boruto, who activates the karma with the help of Kawaki. Now Boruto still can't activate karma at will, but Kawaki can, and when Kawaki activates his, it triggers Boruto's karma as well. And when Boruto has the karma activated, he gets a tremendous power boost, even making Naruto flinch a couple times in their sparring session. And I actually really like the way that this episode was animated. They seem to be putting in more quality into the anime now that we're getting into the canon material, and there were some really good animations in this. It really caught my eye by surprise. A lot of the combat was very fluid, and I actually really liked this sparring session between Naruto and Boruto. Now, I wish that they would have just skipped all the filler. I think that by making 200 episodes of filler, nearly 200, they really dampened the hype for this series, because the manga is actually very good. And as much as people really want to see Naruto and Sasuke more than anything, in the manga, they're in like, well, at least Naruto's in almost every chapter. So now we're into the part where we should be seeing a lot more of Naruto, because after this episode, spoiler alert, Naruto is going to go up and fight against Delta, and that's going to be a really fun battle to watch as well. I'm really curious to see how they animate that, because there's a lot of combat that goes on. I'm wondering if they're going to make it a high quality production like they did with episode 189, which was just absolutely phenomenal. It was just a marvel of animation. I'm sure that in some of the major fights, like Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen, they'll pull that again, those crazy animated episodes, because that really brings in fresh audiences into the anime. And the way that they are doing the character development here in the anime, it's very easy to digest the growth of all of the characters. Naruto is a very consistent character here in the story, and you can see Kawaki, whose life was just so effed up. I mean, God, this dude had the most effed up upbringing you could possibly imagine. I mean, he had this drunk father who's beating the crap out of him. He got kids picking on him. He got people he thought were being nice to him who were really just trying to traffic him. And then he gets bought out by Jigen, who's just smacking him with this pole over and over and over again and doing tests on him. And holy hell, I mean, they really sell the point of how messed up Kawaki's life is and why he doesn't trust anyone and why he is the way he is. I mean, they did just an absolutely phenomenal job depicting this character here in the anime with the voice acting, the animation, the backstory. They did everything right to sell us Kawaki, and I really love his character. We recently saw that Kajin Koji has invaded Konoha and he's looking for Kawaki, and there's this sensory unit that the Leaf Village has put into place so that if anybody who has outside chakra comes into the Leaf Village, they get alerted. It's like the security system. Spoiler alert, again, if you're not reading the manga, Kajin Koji is a clone of Jiraiya. That's why you see him with the frog eyes and everything, and he uses all of Jiraiya's abilities and even has a frog with him. So because it's Jiraiya's chakra entering Konoha, it doesn't signal the sensory unit. He's not going to be the one fighting Naruto next. It's actually going to be Delta, this yellow-haired chick, and basically like all of her body is modified with scientific ninja tools, which is one of the main themes of early Boruto is scientific ninja tools. A lot of it is because of Amato. So Amato has modified basically her entire body. She can extend her limbs, and most importantly, she can absorb jutsus with her eyes. So she's kind of like a false Otsutsuki in the way that she absorbs jutsus, and she's pretty freaking strong in physical combat as well. And so while there's going to be this training session going on between Naruto, Boruto, and Kawaki, Delta's going to finally interfere. I don't know how she was able to get through, or maybe they're outside the village right now training, but she's going to come in and try and fight Naruto, and we're going to get to see Naruto fight against another powerful opponent. But in this case, Naruto is basically not going all out. Well, the fight is difficult for him because she absorbs his jutsus, so he basically has to rely on taijutsu the entire time. The main thing he's worried about is pulling her away from Kawaki and Boruto, because he knows that she's a bad person and she's going to use them to her advantage. You know, she'll hold them hostage and that could put Naruto in a bad position. And that's actually what ends up happening. She can shoot these lasers out of her eyes that will like disintegrate your body and that you can't even regenerate if it hits you. And so she throws up Naruto's daughter up into the air and shoots these laser eyes at her. It's about to kill her and Naruto jumps in to save her, but Kawaki jumps in and sacrifices his arm in order to protect them. So this is like a major major defining moment that's coming up for the character of Kawaki, as he's finally like let his guard down and he's accepted that he can trust Naruto and he can actually trust people. Not everyone in the world is bad and evil and just wants to beat him up and torture him, which is all he's ever really known his entire life. So with all the character development that they've built so far for Kawaki, this is a huge moment for him coming up. He sacrifices his arm to protect Naruto, and Naruto actually ends up giving him the prosthetic arm, which we see later on down in the manga becomes a major part with Ishiki when he comes out of Jigen. I gotta say, I'm actually really enjoying the Boruto anime right now. I mean, now that it's getting into the juicy content, there's some real threats coming for Naruto and Sasuke. They've stepped up the animation in some of the more important areas, and the acting and development of all of the characters like really gets you to sympathize with them. I mean, they put in a quality amount of story building and action to get you attached to the characters. They're doing a very good job with that, especially Kawaki. But even Naruto, seeing him take this mentor role, he's always got like a level head. It's very interesting to see Naruto, after all of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, take on this role of Hokage and take Kawaki under his wing, but also simultaneously his son with all the responsibilities of being a Hokage, and he's doing like a fantastic job. I mean, when you watch Naruto as a kid, you're like, this dum-dum could never lead the village, right? But he's really grown into his character, and I like it. I like seeing Naruto in this position. I just wish he would try a little bit harder in fights. Like his fight that's upcoming with Delta, it's like he barely does anything. He barely uses any of his Nine Tails power or Sage with Six Paths power. I mean, he's just always fighting in Taijutsu and using Rasengan. That's like all he's really doing. I guess it's all he really can do, but I feel like he could push his form so much higher and do so many more crazy things. That's the one thing I don't really like about the character of Naruto in Boruto, is like I feel like they just straight up nerf him. Like after the time skip from Shippuden, you'd think that he'd keep training and he'd be able to do some really crazy stuff right now, but you rarely ever see him do anything extraordinary, which always makes him look relatively weak, which he certainly is not. But in his defense, just about every enemy he fights is an Otsutsuki or some member of the Kara that can absorb jutsus, so all these characters can just absorb jutsus, which basically just make all those abilities non-existent. That's why Sasuke's just fighting with his sword and Naruto's using taijutsu, because you know, that's all they can really do if your opponent can absorb any jutsu. The anime right now is probably at its best, and it's only going to get better as we dive into the war against Kara. And I'm really hoping they don't resort back to the filler, because I think this is their last chance. They have a good opportunity here with YouTubers like me just talking about the show, getting people to invest in it again, to rebuild the hype for the series, because the upcoming battles are going to be really good. And as long as they maintain the track of the manga, they have a really good chance of pumping up the sales for this show in this anime. But considering there's only 57 chapters of the manga, and right now we're on chapter 30, I believe, going into 31, they could very quickly get to where the manga is within like a year if they continue at this pace. So then what happens? Do they just start to do the anime past the manga, kind of like what Dragon Ball Super did? Or do they just make another 200 episodes of filler to let the manga get ahead of the anime again? Hopefully not. I'd rather them just take a break altogether than just create a bunch more filler, because that was kind of the plague of Naruto Shippuden, was you get to this super hype moment in the anime and then you'd have almost a year of filler, and it would just hurt. It was extremely painful. That was my main gripe, and a lot of people's main gripes, is just don't do filler. It's like, just don't even air the shit. We're okay taking a break. It's just all this wasted energy on filler that gets us excited for, we check in every week and it's not what we want. It's like all that disappointment. Just remove that. Let the manga get ahead and then start animating it. I think that'll make us a lot more happy. But anyways, if you're not watching the Boruto anime right now, it's really starting to get good. I really think you should give it a shot. Start at episode 189 and watch forward. It's really important that you understand Kawaki's character, because he's such an important member of this anime and this arc, and especially moving forward to that fateful first episode where he's facing off against Boruto. We still don't know why they're facing off or why they both still have karma at that point, but the manga is always really good, and I'm reviewing that on this channel as well. So make sure you subscribe, notifications enabled. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll talk to you on the next one.